Welcome in, everyone. It's Chris P. Austin coming at you from the Hunting Happiness Podcast. This is episode 5, and specifically what we're going to learn about in this episode is exactly how the Become Your Best book works. And the full title is Become Your Best, Mastering Confidence Through 6 Phases of Quotes and Notes. This is a common question I get from people who are clients of mine, people who just find the book on their own, people who have the book introduced to them. And I wanted to make sure that there's a pretty clear-cut guide on exactly how to utilize this book. So first off, I want to tell you where you can get it. So if you go on chrispaustin.com/books, that's the best place to grab yourself a copy. It's also available on Amazon. It's in some bookstores around the United States. And I decided to put this together because I continued to run into clients who wanted to have a way that they would be able to remember the concepts that we talked about, and I didn't want them to have to remember the words or the exact phrase. And in a lot of my training, it's not necessarily about having an exact word or exact phrase. It really is personnel dependent. But what this book really started to help people with immediately was being able to put words to the things that they were thinking and the things that they wanted to remember. So the way this book is designed is it's got 3 different portions of it. And so within the 6 phases that you learn inside of Become Your Best, you're going to have 3 different portions. And the first portion, it goes through the quote of mine that you're going to read and which section that quote falls into. So these 6 phases, these are really important. And as you go through the 6-phase process that I say at any person who I work with and what I say at any event is you've got to go through them in order. That's a really important concept. When you're going through the 6 phases, you've got to go through them in order. There's not the ability to be able to jump around and have the same level of success. So when you're doing that, as you open up the first portion, you're going to have the quotes. And so it's just an opportunity to be able to digest the quotes as you go through. It helps you with the order of the 6-phase process. They all fit into the specified phase that you're in, and it's going to help you be able to have a little bit of synchronicity with the way that you're moving through the book. So everything is going to be symmetrical as you move through the book. You're going to go through each one of the phases. You're going to hit these quotes. Once you get to the second section of the book, what happens is it will have my commentary along with that quote. So you're going to get to see what was my feeling and what was my first thought when we started the process of just saying that quote or having that quote in your life. So in the first section, it's just the quote. You're getting to digest it. Take it as you will. In the second section, you're going to get the quote and you're going to get my feeling and what I believe and the way that I believe the quote should be taken. When you get to that third section, what you're going to do is there's a section where you can write in pen and there's a section where you can write in pencil. So as you get to that section, you're going to have the opportunity to write down first in pen what your first thought was. So what your first interpretation of the quote was, what your first feeling was. And that's something that when you go through the book, I want you to be able to remember what was my first feeling, what was my first thought as I went through this. And then in pencil, you can erase or you can stick with as much as you'd like. But in that situation, that's going to be able to see your development. So as you go through the book continuously and you utilize these concepts, you utilize these quotes, you utilize these phases, it's going to be an opportunity for you to be able to see the growth. You'll always have in pen, where did I originally start with the book and what was my original ideology? And then as you progress, you're going to be able to use that pencil and erase or keep as much as you want until you get to that really solid, this is how I want to feel, this is how I'm going to feel, this is how I'm going to live portion of the book. So one more time as you go through it, there are 6 phases. Those phases are going to be what's necessary for you to be able to start the process of mastering your confidence. And then the 3 separate sections, which all include the 6 phases. The first section is going to have my quote, and you're just going to be able to digest it. The second section is going to have my quote and then my commentary on that quote so that you can see my perspective. And then finally, you're going to have the quote, an opportunity for you to write in pen what your first interpretation was of it. And then just below that in pencil, you can continue to write the same thing, or you can erase and update, but you're going to see the development of how you take it until you get to where you actually want to feel and how you actually want to have that quote live within your life. So one more time, Become Your Best Book, Mastering Confidence Through 6 Phases of Quotes and Notes. This is a book that you want to have in your life. It's not your typical, X amount of days in the year or X amount of months in the year. Just read something and, it's going to give you some motivation for an hour and then you go on about your life. This is going to be a real opportunity for you to develop and be able to see my ideology, compare it to your original ideology, and be able to get to the place that you want to get to. So one more time, where you can find this book, chrispaustin.com/books. It's available there. That's the best place to get it. It's also available on chrispaustinstore.com. And then you can get it on Amazon if you want to just have a quick hit. Check out the reviews. There's a ton of them on there of people who've had it in their households, people who have it in their households. It's a great option for teams. It's a great option for businesses. More than anything, it's a great option for you. So how to find this podcast moving forward. You want to make sure you go to the YouTube channel, Chris P. Austin, and hit that subscribe button. Continue to follow along. Get into my comments and tell me what topics you want to hear, and make sure that you're starting to drop in some musical selections, because the next thing that we're going to be doing on the podcast is we're going to be talking about music and how that helps bring connection into the world. So make sure that you're doing that in the comments. Follow along. Send it out to somebody else who's got to get this mentality and this happiness in their life. And don't forget, as you leave this podcast today, hunt happiness. I'll see you next podcast.